Okay, so a very good evening all of you in today's lecture. So this is weekly current affair class. This is we conduct these sessions with the objective to cover the important current affair areas that are in the news, especially the past week. Now, if you see this week, we have some very important news, and let me take you to those news. So as you can see, these are the topics that we are going to cover today. So first is taming inflation. Now, as we cover the topics, I'll also be covering the basics, concept of current affairs also. So some topics will take time to explain. So the first topic is taming inflation, RBI's new concern. India's manufacturing sector. Recently, a report has come about the job losses. So we'll discuss that. SEBI has proposed a gold exchange. What is that? We'll discuss. Status of India's remittance. National Tribunal Commission demand for that. Regulation of ed tech area, education technologies, Article 311 of Indian Constitution. Then the Israel-Philistine conflict is going on, so we'll discuss about the moral issues of that. The Israel Iron Dome, we'll discuss what is that. So basically, it's a missile defense system. So we'll understand how the system works. Then recently we have witnessed a secondary diseases which has come because of the COVID-19 complications. So mucormycosis crisis, it's a fungal infection. We'll discuss that. Again, DRDO has come with a new oral drug which can be used for COVID-19 patients. It is called 2G, and DRDO. There's a body of DRDO called INMAS, along with Dr. Reddy. They have come. And few days ago, we witnessed huge cyclone called Taute. So we'll discuss all that. Now, let me take you to the inflation concern. Now, what is inflation? In simple word or simple line, we can understand inflation as increase in the price rise. So when the prices increase in the economy, it is very challenging. Now, past 1 year, in fact, I would say the past 14 months, what we have witnessed, inflation has been high. High inflation, which means increase in the prices. So inflation can be understood as increase in the prices of goods and services over a period of time. So who manages the inflation? महंगाई जब बढ़ती है, so who has the prime? Who has to take the responsibility of managing this inflation? So inflation basically can be managed by RBI, or it can be managed by the government policies. So broadly, these are two bodies which will try to control inflation. Now, RBI का जो target है, RBI has a specific policy, and that policy of RBI is called inflation targeting. Right? So you can just this concept will come again and again. Inflation targeting means RBI says that we will keep inflation in this range, 4 plus minus 2%, which means 4 plus 2 is 6. This is the upper range, and 4 minus 2 is 2, which means inflation should be in this range. If inflation comes below 2% or it goes above 6%, in both the cases, RBI will take it as a cause of concern. यानी inflation को 6 to 2% के बीच में रहना चाहिए. More than 6%, which means inflation is high in the economy. अगर inflation economy में ज़्यादा है, it is bad, because as the inflation goes up, it causes impact on the common people like you and me. Everybody. The goods and services become costlier, the availability becomes, there is an impact on the demand, and of course the supply. So there is a number of challenges, especially in a country like India, where I would say around 50% of India's population, they are among the lower income group. Bottom 20%, India का जो BPL population है, that is around 20%, which is huge, right? So when inflation goes up, महंगाई जब बढ़ती है, these are the people who are at the receiving end of the challenges. Now RBI has a committee called Monetary Policy Committee, and it's a 6-member committee which basically decides the policy actions for inflation. But what is the objective of RBI? And for that, I'll just make a simple diagram which will make you understand things. So RBI karta kya hai? Let's understand that. So RBI has a role in inflation management, right? And basically that policy is called inflation targeting. Now, RBI says that inflation should be between this range, 4 plus minus 2%, which means between 2 to 6%. If inflation crosses, if inflation is more than 6%, then there is a problem. Or if inflation is less than 2%, then again there is a problem. This is a high situation of high inflation. Okay, and this is a situation of deflation. Deflation matlab opposite of price rise. Price of going down. That is also bad. Because when the price go down, then people like business people, or when the price goes down, it also signifies lower demand. So economy works on the principle of demand and supply, right? So we have to ensure that demand is also there in the economy. Adequate demand will ensure adequate supply, and that will ensure that people will get job, production will happen. So economy runs on the principle of demand and supply. But if inflation goes beyond 6%, 6% jab cross karta hai, then there is a problem. Now what RBI will come into action through its MPC, Monetary Policy Committee. RBI karta kya hai? They basically regulate the money supply. So RBI will regulate the money supply, and they will do if high inflation का मतलब ये भी है that there is too much money in the economy. So in this situation, RBI will reduce money supply. RBI money supply कम कर देता है. And if inflation is low, okay, or there is a deflation, then opposite will happen. RBI will increase money supply. So that is what RBI will. Either it will reduce money supply or it will increase money supply. RBI सिर्फ इतना ही कर सकता है. They can regulate money supply in the economy entirely. Now coming to how exactly this functions, I'll explain with a very small and simple diagram. Now you can understand like this. So this is money supply, and this is you can say goods and services. So let's suppose X is money supply and Y is goods and services in the economy. If we increase money supply को बढ़ा देते हैं without changing goods and services. So in this situation, what do you see? There is increase in the prices. यहाँ inflation हो गया है, because earlier Y was available at X rupee, but today Y is available at X plus A rupee. अगर मैं money supply बढ़ा देता हूँ, for some reason, if we add more money in the economy without changing the output, this is the output of the country. Output matlab goods and services. So if we don't change the output of the country and we increase money supply, this is equivalent to inflation. अभी RBI को पता है inflation हो गया है, which RBI will do opposite. So if there is a situation when there is a high inflation, RBI will reduce money supply. RBI will reduce money supply, and if they reduce money supply, people will have less money with them. अगर money supply कम कर देंगे, people will have less money with them and less demand. Money supply जैसी करेंगे, कम करेंगे, people will have less money in their hand, and automatically demand will come down. So this is a basic principle of how the RBI decides in terms of money, in terms of inflation management. So we can see here that if the inflation goes up, RBI will try to regulate money supply, which means they will reduce money supply. Let's understand the data. So April 2021 consumer price index CPI is 4.3%, which means it is okay. Now CPI, in fact, RBI CPI को measure लेता है. RBI takes CPI as a measure. So by that account, RBI का inflation is okay. It is less than 6%. It is more than 2%. So this is okay. So RBI's official inflation measurement tool is consumer price index, and that is called CPI. And CPI is an inflation for common man. It is an inflation for people like you and me. So this is okay. But we have another problem. Wholesale price index. This is for wholesale item, and that is going up from past many months, and we can see it is more than 10%. So CPI is used for retail consumers, where WPI is used for wholesale item. तो हमें क्या देखने को मिल रहा है that CPI is in control, but the WPI is not in control, and that is a problem. So RBI definitely will look at CPI data, but try and understand CPI data जो है that will help RBI to take policy decisions. But if WPI is higher, that might also reflect some challenges in the economy. Now WPI is all about wholesale item. Now if wholesale item is costlier, which means tomorrow retail item will also go up. So that is an indication that tomorrow the CPI will also go up. Last year क्या हुआ था? Last year the CPI was high. It was high between 6 to 7%. Average 6 to 7% था last year, and that is where it was a cause of concern. RBI took a lot of action. Also, the demand came down, and that is how we can say the inflation came into control. However, अगर अभी का inflation कहते हैं 4.3%, which has come for April 2021. Now, when we measure inflation, so we compare with last year, right? So last year inflation was high. तो अगर आप देखोगे current inflation looks moderate because of base effect. होता क्या है जब inflation को measure करते हैं, we compare with the previous base. So in April 2020, now listen here, April 2020 inflation was high. Now from that inflation, if I compare today's inflation, तो वो high था. So the base was high, which means today the inflation would look smaller. तो अभी का जो inflation है 4.3%, it looks smaller also because of base effect. Base effect मत किस base से हम compare कर रहे हैं? The previous base was already high, and from that base we are comparing. Okay, so that is called base effect. No, both the index are not correlated, Ahmed. The indexes are different. They are created by different bodies. So inflation. Now, let's not go in the technicalities of CPI and WPI because that is another area. But try and understand. CPI is the main inflation because CPI talks about from common man, you and me. WPI talks about the wholesale items. Okay, so that is not much of a problem. But if WPI is higher, which means WPI is for wholesale item, manufacturing, production activity. तो इसका मतलब ये है that if WPI is higher, which means the manufacturing items are costlier, which will definitely impact us as well. So inflation, if I say inflation is relatively controlled from CPI point of view, but WPI is high, and there is a fear that tomorrow inflation will go up further. Okay, so it is very important to control inflation because India का जो population है, they almost 20% population is poor, and if food items becomes costly, so far food items have been relatively on the calmer side. They have not increased much. But if food items become costlier, then it will hurt poor in a very negative manner, and that is where RBI has to be very much clear. A good thing is that we might have a decent monsoon in the coming month. Monsoon अच्छा आने वाला है as per the reports of the weather department. So that is a good sign maybe in the coming months. But inflation is one concern, but there is one more problem: the job losses. Because of job losses, people have lost their income, and when the income comes down, there is also a concern of decrease in purchasing power. So that is also a problem. We might look at that RBI कहता है कि RBI we are trying to control inflation, but try and understand RBI will look at other aspect as well. How economy is performing, that means economic growth. RBI's other objectives look at also to look at job creation, but job is not being created right now. In fact, people are losing job. RBI will also look at concerns like managing exchange rate. Exchange rate मतलब dollar rupee rate. So rupee to dollar. So these are exchange rate. So RBI will also look at these aspects, and so job loss is also a big concern in the economy that we might see. Now, if I say what is the cause of inflation, because when we compare inflation from past few months, it is going up. Now, when we compare since last year inflation was high, then it moderated, then again it is going up. There is a feeling because multiple reasons. First is that last year inflation went up, then RBI took monetary policy, and in that monetary policy, RBI tried to ensure that economy ka demand बढ़ जाए. There was a problem, remember, inflation was high, but that inflation was mainly because of food prices. Okay? Then there was less demand in the economy. Pandemic ke karan, last year when the first wave came, demand came down. So RBI's concern was to boost the demand. RBI ने inflation को secondary रखा and they focused on demand. And when they focus on demand, they pump a lot of money in the economy. Just remember, when the demand goes down in the economy, that is a bad sign. Less demand means less production, no job creation. So what RBI will do here, RBI will try to pump more money in the economy to induce demand. RBI economy के अंदर पैसा pump करेगा. When RBI pumps money in the economy, that will ensure credit availability. Easily आपको loan मिलेगा at lower interest rate. क्योंकि money easily available है. It is called easy money policy, or you can say it is a cheap money policy. So RBI last year inflation क्यों बढ़ा था? एक reason ये भी था that at one end the items were costlier, but at other end RBI looked at increasing demand because their concern was not inflation at that time, but it was increase and boost the demand. When RBI tried to improve the demand, then they pumped a lot of money in the economy. When they pumped money in the economy, that caused another problem, that पैसा तो easily available हो गया, but people were not ready to take loan. Very few people took loan. So suddenly what happened? Lot of money, or you can say liquidity in the economy. Liquidity मतलब money supply बढ़ गया. So demand did not increase to the level. It definitely increased, but not to the extent as imagined by the RBI, and that put more money supply. So money जब money supply बढ़ता है, remember what I said, add more money supply and economy में output नहीं बढ़ेगा, then that situation there will be inflation. So price pressure means inflation increase in the last year. So last year inflation was high because of RBI following easy approach to money policy. Money was easily available. Okay, so we can see WPI definitely might be in control today, but last year WPI was very high. Sorry, CPI was very high. Today WPI is increasing, and WPI is increasing. Last year it was 7.4%. This month it was last month it was 7.4%. This month it is 10.49%, which is highest in last 8 years. Now these are very unprecedented situation because many things are beyond control. But in spite of all the limitation, we have to look at inflation and the numbers have to be managed. So last year RBI might have done good. Inflation went up, then it came down. Inflation बढ़ा, RBI focused on demand, job creation. The economy also recovered, but suddenly in the last 2 months, especially since April, we can see how the economy has been facing. So RBI has faced considerable has done considerable job by reducing inflation, but they have breached the target. जो 4.4 ±2% का target था, last year it was breached multiple times every month. Now question is that why high inflation? अगर अभी की बात करते हैं, what is the reason of high inflation? First is increase in commodity prices globally. So the manufacturing item, the commodity prices, they are going up. अगर prices बढ़ेंगे, तो automatically inflation will happen. Another is US economy. US की economy, they are opening up, and because they also face the problem of pandemic, now they are opening up and they are following easy money policy. जैसे RBI ने last year किया था, they are following easy money policy, excessive easy money policy. और easy money policy में क्या करते हैं? You pump dollar. जैसे हम रुपी पंप कर रहे हैं इकोनॉमी में, they will pump dollar. और जब डॉलर को पंप करते हैं, which means you want easy availability of money. But एक problem है, when you pump money in the economy, money supply in the economy will go up, and that would be inflationary in nature. जैसे आप पैसा इकोनॉमी में पंप करोगे और डिमांड नहीं बढ़ता है, if demand does not increase to the level of requirement, then there will be inflation. So US is facing 4.2% inflation, which is highest in last 10 years. Normally US में inflation काफी constant रहता है around 2%, but because RBI is Fed Reserve, उनका जो RBI है Fed Reserve, they are following easy policy and their government is also following fiscal policy. Fiscal means financial policy, and that is causing high inflation in the US's economy. अभी US की economy में जो inflation बढ़ता है, so how does it impacts India? That is also a big thing. Now, when US economy inflation is going up, but also economy is recovering, because now almost 30% of the population has vaccinated, which will increase to in month or two, it will almost be 50-60%. So when the US economy recovers, the dollar will become stronger. जब economy recover करती है तो आपका currency strong होता है, so the dollar will become stronger, and when the dollar will become stronger, then the rupee will become weaker. When rupee weak, then rupee becomes weaker, means इसका मतलब है the dollar value goes rupee value goes down and dollar values goes up. Now this is international scenario, but this international scenario can also impact inflation in India. When rupee will become weaker, that means the import will be costly. हमारा import costly हो जाएगा, because oil will be costly. So this will cause high inflation. तो हमारी economy के अंदर inflation is because of rupee getting weakening. अगर आप देखोगे in the past 1 month, rupee is getting weaker every second day, so which means import is costly, and import is costly, which means inflation will be costly. A very good example is oil. Today oil has reached almost 100 rupees. The global items are costlier, the global commodity prices are costlier, so definitely they are being used in the economy, and that will add to the inflationary pressure in the economy. So these are the concerns, and it is a very dynamic and fluid situation, and here RBI क्या करना होगा? Here RBI will have to look at ways through which the inflation can be controlled. ठीक है? So RBI will meet in the early June, and they might have to look at how the inflation is managed and controlled. Is this clear to everybody? आपको clear है? Little technical, but don't worry. As your preparation will move, your understanding will also improve. Is this clear to everybody? समझ में आ रहा है कुछ? Little technical. Okay, let's carry on. Something. Don't worry. This, as the economy will improve, as we'll have more economic lectures, you'll understand this better, because inflation is a topic that we'll cover in the economic lectures. But अभी के लिए आप basic rule मान लो that if the economy में एक basic rule आप मान सकते हो that if the economy में price rise होता है, which means inflation is happening. So when the inflation will go up, RBI will try to reduce money supply. If RBI does opposite, या किसी कारण opposite होता है, then the inflation might go up. So RBI will try to control the inflation. Now currently जो हमारा inflation है, that is because the items from outside are costly. Import is costly. Also within the economy, last year हमने बहुत सारा पैसा pump किया था. We pumped a lot of money in the economy so that people can take loan and do business. That might have happened. अगर ये second wave नहीं आया होता, then economy might have revived a bit. But again, it became too early because we were on the revival phase and we were expecting a good growth scenario. हमको ऐसा लग रहा था कि शायद हमारा economy बहुत अच्छे से recover करेगा, and we might go up to the level of 11. In fact, in budget 10.5% का target था. Many reports said 12 to 13% India, करेगा. But the whole May and June, I think whole May till 15th of I think April and May, 2 months will be heavily impacted because of this COVID. So we'll have to see how the economy gets back to its foot normal, and only time will tell. Now, India's manufacturing sector. Now, what is the problem? The story of job losses. And for that, let me tell you about the story of manufacturing sector. In the last 1 year, because of COVID, India has witnessed job losses, income, inequality has gone up, poverty has also gone up. So poverty बढ़ गया है, inequality has increased, and the incomes have come down, the job losses have happened. And we are trying to understand that last 1 year, how our manufacturing sector has fared. But manufacturing sector has been facing a very big challenge of job losses to a considerable level. तो एक report आया है, and as per this report, the pandemic has forced people to out of their formal jobs. Formal job means job with security, job with defined work hours, and that people are forced to leave that job and they are moving to the casual work. Casual work means daily work or contractual work. So casual work, we are moving towards the casual work, which means maybe daily wage laborers, or you are moving to contractual work. So once you move to the daily wage laborers or contractual work, it is a problem because you don't have stability in income, and contractual jobs come with lower income or lower salary. So that has also led to decline in the income. Is phenomenon कहते हैं casualization of labor. If a labor moves from a formal job, that is a good government job, then we can say to a casual job, we can say casualization of workforce. Okay. Then there has been sudden increase in poverty of the past year. Past year, poverty बढ़ा है because of the COVID, of course, and the job losses are witnessed across Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Delhi, because these states were heavily impacted, and there has been a huge livelihood concern. So ये एक major challenges हैं which we are facing right now, and the labor force participation, that is also important. If you try to understand total population है जो working age means 15 to 60. 64. Okay, so among this population of India, how many people are working? Okay, so how many working? So that is called labor force participation rate formula. So labor force, so this definition is important because you might come across. So it was being discussed in this article. Now coming to, so because of the COVID, last 1 year has been very bad. People have faced job losses across areas. If you talk about employment in India, agriculture, mines, manufacturing, real estate, construction, financial services, public art, all these services, they account for 99% of employment in India. Usme specifically, if you talk about manufacturing sector, that employed 51 million, and that has come down to 27 million. Yani 51 million to 27 million since 2007, since 2016, 17. Means in the last 5 years, what we have witnessed that in the manufacturing sector, the number of people who are employed, that is coming down. Naturally, here we are talking about formal jobs. हम formal jobs की बात कर रहे हैं. It does not mean that people don't have jobs. It means that people have jobs, but it is mostly informal in nature, and that is a problem. People have a stable formal job, but if they are forced to move to an informal job, that is a big concern. Then what happened? Let's say you live in an urban area, you are working in a factory, you are forced to leave the job. You feel that again the pandemic induced migration happened. So this pandemic induced migration has forced you to move to rural area. You might have a small field, or you'll say, let's go to village, at least I don't have to pay my rent. At least I have small, I'll do some small little, petty work there. So people are going down in their villages, and that is reverse migration is happening. Pandemic induced reverse migration is happening, and this is a problem. So this reverse migration is something which is causing that there are more people going in the agriculture. Agriculture में ऐसी लोग की जरूरत नहीं है. We already have more people than required in agriculture, but what we are witnessing, people are again going to the agriculture. So that sad story is that the jobs in the manufacturing sector, they are coming down, and people are moving to agriculture. At the same time, sectors like education, entertainment industry, here employment has come down heavily. I'll talk about education because I belong to this field. Now, right now, the only online education is going on. I have a team of 20+ people, right? And these 20+ people, Majority of them have been absorbed in current jobs, but with less income, with less income in terms of salaries, because the offline centers are closed. And when the offline centers are closed, automatically the people who were 100% involved in the offline center, they had to be absorbed somewhere else. So that is one factor. Also, if I say the coaching institutes in Delhi, Kota, every part of India, they are closed. Similarly, the schools are closed. The colleges are closed. The employment has almost halted. When the schools are closed, colleges are closed, maybe online education is going on. But I say that probably 90% of people in India probably don't have the level of, you can say, high internet speed, rural area, is practically outside this net. Unko online education na ke barabar nahi mil pata hai. So that is impacting the schools, their revenues, teachers are not getting salary, people who are employed in education, every part of India, they are facing huge concerns and challenges because online is not something that India is equipped to take at. We are not talking about urban cities. We are not talking about people who have access to internet or high-speed internet. So that has been the problem. Okay. Now coming to the manufacturing sector. Now manufacturing sector is seen as a sector which has a solution for many problems in India. Manufacturing sector is seen as a sector which can absorb a job. Millions of jobs can be absorbed or jobs can be created. And that is where it has. So manufacturing in India has capacity to absorb the unskilled people, the less educated poor people, whereas service sector requires education and skills. If you want to go in service sector, you need to be educated, college degree, professional degree. And that is not needed in manufacturing sector. यहाँ पे आप 3 month का, you can do a 3 months vocational course and you'll start working. Okay, so India has been trying to work in this sector. We are trying to improve manufacturing sector, but there has been a challenge. हमारा manufacturing sector आज भी अच्छे से काम नहीं कर रहा है, and that has been the prime challenge. In spite of the efforts, India has struggled to get manufacturing industries to create jobs. As per the CMI, that is Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, in the past 4 or 5 years, manufacturing is actually letting go of workers instead of employing them. Manufacturing sector, जहाँ ऐसा लगता था कि it can absorb people, it is actually leaving people. It is saying that we are letting you go. So that is a problem, and there is already more people in agriculture in rural area, and that is a problem. So people, laborers and workers are going home because of there are no jobs. And I would say a lot of is also because of this pandemic. Break happened, then you opened the economy, then again break happened. So naturally it will have a negative impact overall. So manufacturing में ये story आज से नहीं है. This manufacturing story is going on from past 7 years. Now you might get a question in UPSC mains that in spite of all the effort, manufacturing has not been doing so well. We are still, losing jobs. Why? Question mark. Why? So, or let's understand from manufacturing sector itself. What are the problems of this sector? People like you and me, if you want to start a manufacturing unit, अगर हम एक अच्छा factory डालना चाहते हैं, what kind of problem we face? Manufacturing in India is not growing to the extent it should. Big industries are growing, but not the medium industries or small industries. We are not talking about the companies which are huge in terms of thousands of crores of investment. I'm talking about companies which might be smaller, maybe 5 crore, 2 crore, 10 crore, 15 crore. These units, they form the bulk of the manufacturing units of any country, and they will absorb employment as well. जो बड़ा company है, they are highly capital intensive. The big companies being capital intensive, they will not absorb people because they are machine driven. So if you start a manufacturing unit, पहला problem क्या है? अगर मुझे manufacturing को start करना है, the first is huge investment. The investment cost is huge in the beginning. Okay, let's say you need a 5 crore plant, so 5 crore investment is needed. You will arrange some money, you might have to take loan. Then future is not clear. The future is uncertain because you don't know how the business will pan out. You have to create market, you have to reach out, you have to struggle. Also, once you're running the company, there are a lot of problems like red tape. Government का interference बहुत ज़्यादा है. There is red tapeism, there is governance deficit, there are corruption, there are bribes. And I can tell you this, I've spoken to my friends. There are a few of my friends who are working in this sector and they're facing this problem. Once you are starting a sector, which once we are starting a factory, a manufacturing unit, it has a challenge because it will come with a rider that there are so many regulations are there. And if you don't follow the regulations, even if you follow the regulation, you might have to bribe people. So that is another problem that we face in spite of all the good saying about ease of doing business, everything. Further, India is also an economy where the manufacturing goods ka demand has come down or is tapering. And there are multiple reasons. The first reason is that India still is poor. If I talk about average income in India, what is the average income? The average income is around $2,200, which is very less. The bottom 50%, they are looking for cheap manufacturing items. Okay, because of high poverty, a huge part of your income is spent on the food. आप food पे खर्च करते हो. When you spend on the food, automatically the demand for manufacturing item will come down. The second is India is a big market for repair and maintenance. For example, you purchase a refrigerator. You would not purchase a new refrigerator unless until you will get it, maybe you'll get it repaired for 2-3 times. So repair and maintenance is very high part of our consumption choice. When Indians buy some item, they tend to use much longer. Developed countries may replacement is in a shorter span, but here we replace it in a longer duration. There is very good example of automobile sector as well. Automobile sector में replacement नहीं है और replacement takes very time, and that is why government has come with a new scrapping policy. So at one end, the average income is less. The second is the demand for manufacturing is less. The third is the manufacturing unit को आप start करते हो, that is costlier. Future is uncertain. The government support incentives have not benefited largely. Also, there are issues of high regulation, red tapeism, corruption. These are the problems. In the last 50-70 years, we have faced another challenge, that the policy-wise, we have not boosted or we have not promoted labor-intensive industries. So labor-intensive industries have to be promoted. And even though we have said, we have done lip service, हमने कहा कि हाँ हम promote करेंगे labor industries, but that has mostly been a lip service. We have not done considerable effort in this area. I'll give an example. If I compare with India and China, in India, you have average number of people working in a factory is 5,200. The same factory in China, there are 400 people to 500 people working, which means the same unit, naturally the production of that factory is higher. They are employing 3 to 4 times in China, and we are not able to do that. And there has been a problem. The problem is multiple. The problem is, the government regulation many times, the labor laws regulation are there. There are n number of issues are there. Government is forcing, rules from them. On the contrary, in probably in China, they are more simple and easy with these processes. Okay, so labor intensive industries को हमें promote करना है. A very good example is textile industry. Leather industry, MSME, small, medium, micro industries. These are industries which have to be promoted. We have promoted them, but not to the extent it should have. Also, a lot of the credit will also go to the policies in 1950s. When India opened, when India started after 1951, we followed the Nehru's Mahalanobis strategy. So, हमारा जो basic investment था in the beginning, it was on capital intensive industry. We did not promote it labor intensive, but we focused on capital intensive industries, and we believed that over a period of time the labor intensive industries will also grow, but that did not happen because we focused on developing the basic industries, heavy industries. Heavy industry तो develop हो गया, but जो बीच का industry होता है, which is the backbone for job creation, that never shoot off, and that was a problem. Also, because the economy did not grow to the level, the average growth of the economy was very less. For example, from 1950 to 1980, हमारा जो growth rate था वो 3.5% था. And when we compare this growth rate with maybe Thailand, they're growing at 10%, 11%. Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea. So these countries, उनको independence they got around the same time as India got, but they were growing at a much rapid pace. So उनका जो manufacturing sector था, उन्होंने develop किया, and they focused on exports because they had cheap labor. The MNCs were encouraged. उन्होंने कहा जो foreign की बड़ी-बड़ी MNCs उनको कहा कि आप आओ हमारे यहाँ. You set your factories here. We'll provide you cheap labors. And their focus was export, strategy, export, development strategy. And India, on the contrary, we focus on import substitution. हमने कहा नहीं हम सब कुछ यहाँ बनाएंगे. हम बाहर के लिए नहीं बनाएंगे. हम अपने लिए बनाएंगे. But अपने लिए भी नहीं बना पाए. बाहर के लिए तो भूल जाओ. So that is where the problem happened, and that is where we saw the issues and the demand. Also because the lower income growth, the income did not grow, so demand was subdued because of the high poverty level. So today it is believed that the mistakes that we made in 50s and 60s that have to be corrected. But again in 1991 we opened the economy. हमने economy को open किया, but again the problem almost remains the same. So labor intensive ones like leather, handicraft, earlier in 1950s, 60s, they were reserved from small scale industry. मतलब छोटा company आप खोल सकते हो, बड़ा company नहीं खोल सकते in these areas. So many area, for example, if Tata wants to get into this area, they can't go because it is small industry and there is a limit up to you can grow. So objective ये था कि हमको we will want to promote these industries, but you said that I will not allow this industry to grow because the industry अगर बड़ा हो जाएगा, the big player will capture everybody. So only allow small players. Now it might look good, but we could not create a company which is of world standard. हमारे यहाँ जो labor intensive industry बना वो छोटा-छोटा industry बना. You never allowed the big corporate, the Tatas or maybe the big firms, they were not allowed to enter in these labor intensive industries. और जब उनको allow नहीं किया गया, तो वो enter भी नहीं किए because they will not open a small plant. They will open a plant which is big and they will try to capitalize on that. And अगर उनको मौका मिला होता, things would have been different. So that is where the problem lies. Even today, अभी तो हम थोड़ा liberal हो गए हैं, but it is like you have to undo the mistakes of decades. It will not take few years to improve that. So labor intensive manufacturing firms, they are job creating. They absorb a lot of jobs. They don't make your economy bigger. वो economy बहुत बड़ा नहीं बनाएंगे, but they will give livelihood to the population of the country, which a big industry cannot do. So we definitely allowed big industry to grow. हमारे इंडिया में big industry कमी नहीं है. We have huge firms. We have firms which are globally accepted big firms. A very good example is automobile sector of India. So big firms can create GDP, can create good output, but not jobs. Small scale industry, by treating them small scale industry, the policies held back their growth, and that was there. And further, in that period of 60s and 70s or even 80s, I would say that you did not allow our industries. Our industries never developed the capacity. They never developed the prowess. उनके अंदर वो strength नहीं आया that they can be part of global supply chain. They can be part of export strategy. They can be India का item पूरे world में जा रहा है, ऐसा नहीं हुआ. And that is something because these industries were smaller. They never innovated. They only catered to Indian market. They never went outside Indian market. They never innovated, and they were never able to maybe take on to the big companies of the world, which I believe could have happened if we had been more practical around that time. Now, last 5 years में क्या हुआ? Last 5 years में government has come with a lot of initiative. The Make in India, recently production linked scheme. These all schemes are good, but again they are aimed at capital intensive industries. Also in the past 1 year, you have witnessed that we are following protectionist approach. A lot of economists are criticizing. Recently, we have banned Chinese item, we have banned Chinese companies, we have banned Chinese investment. So some people, the economists, they say, okay, there is a problem with China. Okay, fair enough. But what about economy? Because economy does not function like this. So this is a protectionist approach, which is again will be bad in long run. So that is another reason why the manufacturing demand has come down. Economic growth has impacted in last 2-3 years. The economic growth is going down. Again, that is impacting the demand. Okay. Then there is a huge gap between informal and formal manufacturing jobs, and there is a massive decline in the manufacturing jobs. Okay, so these are the challenges that we might witness in the coming years. in the past few years. अभी क्या प्रॉब्लम है? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारा जो इनफॉर्मल एंड फॉर्मल जॉब्स का जो गैप है वो बढ़ रहा है. People are getting jobless, but they are moving from a good job to an informal job. But on the other end, government क्या करी? Government करी नहीं, हमें formal job create करना है. So they are forcing companies to employ formal job. Informal job, जैसे आपने किसी को salary दिया 15,000, and you said I'm paying you cash. Technically, it is an informal job with no record. Government says no. You pay through account. You pay through check, through account. Also, you create a PF, provident fund for them. Every month, 1,500 provident fund में डालो. You register us with our, the government website and portal. ये 15,000 कम है, इसको minimum 17,000 करो. And ये 15,000 in hand होना चाहिए. 1,500 should go to the provident fund, and that is how. So companies come under a lot of pressure of following rules and regulation. So in order to follow formal job, because government को show करना है कि हम job create कर रहे हैं. Even if the formal job salary income कम होगा, that is okay. But government feels that at least we can show to the world that we are creating, or show to the people that we are creating formal jobs. So there is definitely a formal job होना चाहिए. There is no denying from that fact, because formal job come with social security. Formal job security के साथ आता है. That is intended, but you can't force the companies. You have to create a mechanism where companies do it voluntarily. They should do it as a process, a system, or they should see the benefit in that, in that area. So there is a focus on formality and employment generation. We should focus more on employment generation. Formality might happen. That is something that we might look at. So, but in spite of all the challenges, problem hai. But in spite of all the challenges, the best thing that we can do right now is to be able to create job, and that again the best bet is manufacturing sector. अगर हमें job create करना है, तो manufacturing sector is the best bet, and that will only change the dynamics of the country. This question has come repeatedly in the mains examination. If you see the past 5 years of paper, 2-3 times they have discussed why manufacturing sector has not grown, or why industry has not grown, why India is facing issues of jobless growth. How can we address unemployment issues in the country? So a lot of it is linked with the aspect I've discussed. India ke job creation story is a story which we'll discuss again and again, because it is not a story of success, but it is a story of maybe question. It is a story of limited success. So that is where we have to go ahead. I hope till here everything is clear. सबको समझ में आया? आप लोगों को समझ में आया? Is it clear to everybody? Any doubts? Any doubts, anybody? Sorry. कोई doubt है किसी को? Okay, fair enough. It is clear, right? Now I'll go to the next article, but before going to the next article, there is a question by Ahmed. How will central government control inflation? In fact, Ahmed, central government can control inflation by various ways. It can put a price cap. It can look at the reason for inflation. Let's assume inflation is high because of lower demand. Demand come hai. Sorry, because of higher demand and supply is less. So if there are supply side constraint or supply side bottleneck, then government might look at ways to increase the supply. They can import from outside, or they can create mechanism that in future supply should not become a problem. So they might come with these approaches. Government can have a law for hoarders and black marketers. Because many a times supply constraint is created artificially. जैसे अभी क्या है, last 1 month we saw the oxygen was hoarded, the remdesivir medicine was hoarded. That is precisely because it was artificial shortage was created. Shortage so tha, but artificially also it was created. So government can take a strong measure against the hoarders and black marketers also. So these are the ways broadly we can see. Chetan has a question. Does inflation cause impact on repo rate? Repo rate is a tool through which RBI can regulate money supply, Chetan. So repo rate policy is used to regulate money supply. So we'll come to that when we'll study monetary policy. Okay. Now we all must be we must be knowing that in India, gold is a very important this thing. Now, gold you can take it physically, but what if you want to trade with gold? अगर आपको gold के साथ trading करनी है, do you have an option? Yes, we do have an option of gold derivative. एक commodity market होता है, जैसे stock market होता है. In stock market, we purchase shares, we purchase debentures. ठीक है? But in commodity market, you can purchase commodity. It can be agriculture commodity, it can be metals. So now, if you want to trade in gold, अगर आपको gold में trading करनी है, where the prices go up or go down, in that you can earn money. So these people in the metal is a part of commodity market, और ये gold इसको derivative market बोलते हैं. Now SEBI, which is a regulator for the whole market, they are looking at ways that why don't we create a gold exchange in India? जैसे हम stock खरीदते बेचते हैं, similarly can we have a market which will specifically for the gold, because in India India is the second largest consumer of gold in the world. We have annual consumption of almost 800 to 900 tons. हम 800-900 tons gold consume करते हैं. So naturally, gold exchange can be a good option. It will bring more transparency in the gold trading, and also it will focus on spot price. यानी demand supply के हिसाब से pricing होगा. The quality of gold will increase, and also it will be an option of financial market. Financial market मतलब जो market में हम trading करते हैं. So it can again become a part of the financial market. Now question here is that what is a gold exchange? Now gold exchange is a process through which जैसे आप shares purchase करते हो, shares, equity, debentures. Similarly, you can purchase gold. So it will offer trading facilities for the metal, and people like retail investors, bank, foreign investors, jewelers, bullion market जो gold market में deal करते हैं, they can do the trading there. So right now, as I mentioned, gold is a part of commodity market, और इसमें gold contract होते हैं. Gold की value से उस instrument को आप derive करते हो. तो होता कैसे है derivative market? I'll explain. Now markets कई तरह का होता है. So broadly, markets can be money market, they can be capital market, or they can be commodity market. And in all the markets, we have financial instruments. Now money market में the period is less than 1 year. So we have many options like treasury bills. इनका period ही less than 1 year होता है. Capital market is a market of stocks, shares, securities, debentures. This is anything more than 1 year. 1 year से ज़्यादा का होता है. Now capital market, there the trading happens on the stock exchange. Similarly, we have another market. अब ये सारा financial instrument है. Financial instrument means there is a financial value to it, and you can do trading of that. Then there is a commodity market. Commodity market में commodity आप खरीदते बेचते नहीं हो. We have basically a derivative market. मतलब ये है कि commodity, you are dealing in agricultural commodity, you are dealing in metal commodity. तो metal commodity में directly आप deal करते हो, but उसकी value से जो instrument बनता है उसको हम डेरिवेटिव मार्केट बोलते हैं, या इसको डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट बोलते हैं. जैसे मैंने कहा कि 1 करोड़ का गोल्ड है. सो मैंने एक डेरिवेटिव, एक कागज बनाया, और मैंने कहा ये गोल्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है. 1 करोड़ का गोल्ड है, तो मैंने कागज बनाया, वो गोल्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, एंड सो इट इज अ डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है द वैल्यू ऑफ दिस गोल्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम, इट इज डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम द गोल्ड. तो गोल्ड का मार्केट वैल्यू इज 1 CR, so I can say this derivative is also 1 CR. If gold prices go up, derivative prices will also go up. If gold prices come down, derivative prices will come down. तो जैसे जैसे आपका डेरिवेटिव मतलब उसका वैल्यू कहीं और से डिराइव हो रहा है. So we have 3 kind of market. यहाँ पे जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है उस डायरेक्टली उस इंस्ट्रूमेंट में आप डील कर रहे हो, बट इन अ कमोडिटी मार्केट यू आर डीलिंग थ्रू कमोडिटीज. और उसकी आप ट्रेडिंग करते हो। उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स होता है मतलब फ्यूचर में आप पहले से प्राइस प्री डिसाइड कर लेते हो, एंड द प्राइस गो अप इन द फ्यूचर यू विल अर्न मनी, इफ द प्राइस गो डाउन इन द फ्यूचर यू विल लूज मनी बिकॉज यू प्री डिसाइड द प्राइस। अभी आपने कह दिया आफ्टर 6 मंथ प्राइस 100 होगा, आपने फ्यूचर का प्राइस फिक्स कर लिया, बट आफ्टर 6 मंथ द प्राइस वेंट टू 105, नाउ you gain 5 rupees, right? Because आपने कहा मैं 100 rupees दूंगा, but actually you got 105 from the market, which means you paid 100 and 5 is your income, but it might be 95 also, so you lose money. So that is also that is future trading. You are doing not current but you are doing future trading. So this is also a very big market, commodity market. तो गोल्ड अभी कमोडिटी मार्केट पे ट्रेड होता था, गोल्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट। नाउ जैसे हम शेयर्स को खरीदते हैं वैसे ऑन द स्पॉट मार्केट होगा, एंड इंडिया इज द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट कंज्यूमर ऑफ गोल्ड आफ्टर चाइना, एंड दैट इज व्हाई वी आर थिंकिंग ऑफ दैट। नाउ क्वेश्चन कम्स इन दैट इफ यू वांट टू इन्वेस्ट इन गोल्ड टुडे, अगर आपको गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करना है, व्हाट आर द ऑप्शन? द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन टू इन्वेस्ट इन गोल्ड इज फिजिकल गोल्ड. You go to a jeweler shop. Today also we have online platform like Paytm, where you can buy gold in digital form. आप 100 रुपए का गोल्ड भी खरीद सकते हो. Naturally 100 रुपए का गोल्ड, the value equivalent. These are digital, right? So they are very popular among people like new investors. Also you can purchase gold bond. आप गोल्ड बॉन्ड खरीद सकते हो. अभी गोल्ड बॉन्ड का वैल्यू गोल्ड से डिराइव हो रहा है, सो और गोल्ड की प्राइस पे आपको इंटरेस्ट मिलेगा, सो दैट इज गोल्ड बॉन्ड. Then there are ETF, exchange traded fund. ये म्यूचुअल फंड की तरह होता है, but it is linked to gold. So these are the options through which you can deal in the gold market. Or if you still want to go ahead, आप बड़ा खेलना चाहते हो, तो you can go to the gold derivative contract और वहां पे आप गोल्ड में डील करो एंड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को आप गोल्ड में कन्वर्ट भी कर सकते हो. You can do physical settlement and you can get physical delivery of gold. So these are the current option of gold. But now if we have a proper exchange of gold, हम gold को ही exchange market बना देंगे और वहां सिर्फ gold का trading होगा. That is what SEBI has proposed. So gold trade on gold exchange and it will be called EGR, electronic gold receipt. तो gold को हम जो उसका gold होगा उसका जो value होगा, we will convert that value to EGR. और ये EGR का value ऊपर नीचे होगा as per the demand. And it will depend on the gold value. So EGR का value will automatically derive from the gold value. So gold exchange will be created और फिर यहाँ पे EGR creation होगा. There will be people who will allow that to happen. Intermediary होंगे बीच के, vault manager, clearing corporation, so they will ensure that participant can convert their physical gold into EGR. और फिर आप EGR को trade करोगे, इसी को trading करोगे. बाद में जब ट्रेडिंग आप कंप्लीट कर लोगे और यू वांट टू सेल द ईजीआर, यू कैन कन्वर्ट इट इनटू फिजिकल गोल्ड. बट ईजीआर कैन बी सोल्ड और एक्सचेंज लाइक अ नॉर्मल शेयर. इक्विटी मतलब शेयर हो गया, तो नॉर्मल शेयर की तरह आप खरीद बेच सकते हो, एंड दैट इज द ऑप्शन दैट वी माइट हैव टुमारो. सो यू कैन आल्सो कन्वर्ट इनटू गोल्ड. अब ट्रेड कैसे करोगे? यू कन्वर्ट इट टू ईजीआर. ईजीआर कैन बी कन्वर्टेड बैक इनटू फिजिकल गोल्ड. ओके, and so ये सारे options हमारे पास available रहेंगे. So you can read these options. I'm just explaining it in brief manner. Now how do you convert physical gold to EGR? आपके पास gold है, let's say you have 50 gram gold and you want to do trading on gold market. Gold market आपको trading करना है. So what do? You take the physical gold and you have to go to vault manager. उनके पास license होगा, and these people will become vault manager. उनको license मिलेगा from the exchange of course, and they should have minimum 50 crore. ये लोग license के 50 crore देंगे. These vault manager will create EGR and फिर आपको कोई number assign करेंगे. The EGR अभी number हो गया, आपको EGR मिल गया. So आपको you got a document in the physical form, in the digital form, sorry, saying that this EGR value is, let's say, this much, 100 gram of gold, value equivalent this. Now you can trade it on the market. Market trading करोगे, gold का price ऊपर जाएगा, as the share price go up, your EGR value will also go up. Gold का price नीचे आएगा because some reason the EGR value will also go down. So that is how you can do that. And after the trading, आपको लगता है you want to sell the EGR, जैसे आप shares को purchase and sell करते हो, you want to sell it or you want to get it the physical gold, that option is also available. तो दोनों का option है. The only thing is that जैसे आप shares की trading करते हो, you have to pay STT. There is a tax called STT, Security Transaction Tax. you have to give this, बहुत कम होता है, 0.01% के राउंड होता है, and also GST लगता है gold पे 2% का, that also might have to be given. So people who will do trading here, they will have to pay taxes, ठीक है, आपको taxes pay करना होगा through this whole area. So this is how it will be. It will be a challenging thing because tax जहाँ पे government regulation और tax आ जाता है लोग डरते हैं, but I think the tax component is very less, small, and it will also bring transparency, and you will, everything that you have, the gold will turn into maybe white money, okay, and that can be used as a asset in future. So that is the advantage of gold exchange that we might see currently. Is this clear? Suppose समझ में आया? समझ में आ रहा है? Is it interesting or not? Because the current affair class can be little heavy, because after 3 months time you will feel very happy about current affairs class, but today it will be heavy because we are discussing economics, social issues, environment, so many things all together. समझ में आ रहा है? Any doubt, anybody? Interesting है? Okay. Interesting है? Let's take it forward from here. यही 2-3 heavy topic था. Now the topics are relatively simpler and easier one. Okay. Derivative समझ में नहीं आया. अहमद एक काम करते हैं. Actually ये market को 1-2 मिनट में समझना मुश्किल है. You have to attend maybe at least 1 or 2 lectures to reach there. मैं derivatives को end में समझाता हूँ. Let me complete it. So I'll explain it in 2 minutes. ठीक है? So gold exchange is over. Now let's move to the next one. External remittance. What is external remittance? Remittance is money coming from outside. So India gets remittance in dollars. Remittance में हम dollar में count करते हैं. So this money comes from outside. So if an Indian lives in Gulf and they send money to India, so that is remittance. So India received last year 83 billion remittance, and we were number 1 in the world. Okay, and this was just 0.2% less than last year. यानी remittance बहुत थोड़ा सा कम हुआ in spite of the pandemic. So that is what this article is discussing. That India का जो remittance हुआ कम नहीं हुआ, even though the pandemic hit the whole world. Now there was decline from UAE. Okay, UAE से बहुत अच्छा remittance आता है, वहाँ से decline हुआ, but we had good flow from US and other countries. So if you are living in the US and your parents are living in India, आप उनको पैसा भेजते हो, so that is a part of remittance. So World Bank said that remittance flow remained resilient, especially for India. So India is number 1 in the world. Okay. Then number 2 is China. Distant 83 से सीधा China is 59, 60 कह लो. China का last year ज़्यादा था, इस साल कम हो गया. In 2019, Mexico 3rd, Philippines, then Egypt, Pakistan, France, Bangladesh. Remittance कहाँ से आता है? The outflow. Outflow, the highest is US, second is UAE, third is Saudi Arabia, then Switzerland, Germany, and China. So we can see here that India is number 1 in the remittance, and that is the basic fact you need to remember, nothing more than that. And there is also a concern that now remittance is a very important source of income for countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Mexico, and so it is very important that we need to have better data on that and timely reporting. तो वो ये एक आर्टिकल कहता है कि हमें जो है we need to get these data and the data information should be there. So India is number 1 in the remittance economy, and that is huge. $83 billion. छोटा मोटा amount नहीं है. $1 billion is 75,000 crore. Okay, 75,000 crore. So जो भी 1 rupee होता है, $1, let's say 75 rupees. So $1 billion is 75,000 crore. So you can do the math. So this much money is coming from outside. Sheer, clean money, purely. Okay, so Ahmad has a very good question. How does remittance affect GDP? पहली बात तो इससे हमारा forex बढ़ता है, foreign exchange. So this money is like a profit which can be used for payments. Also, this increases money. It adds money in the economy. with people, of course, it improves the purchasing power of people. लोगों का income बढ़, जिनके पास पैसा आएगा उनके हाथ में पैसा आएगा. They will create demand in the economy, so that is good from that perspective. RBI को forex मिलेगा, उनके डॉलर का खेती बढ़ेगा. Every dollar coming to India will convert to rupee, और वो rupee जिनको चाहिए होगा उन तक पहुंचेगा, and that money will be used for those people for demand, for their lives. So that is good source of income for these people. ठीक है ना? So that is how it has a positive effect on the economy. Okay, Ahmed? So this topic is over. Now, recently, Government of India has come with the ordinance. So when Parliament is not sitting, the Parliament nahi hota hai, Parliament not sitting, then how will laws will pass? So if the Parliament is not sitting, Indian Constitution allows Article 123, and as per Article 123, government can pass ordinance, and this ordinance is equivalent to a law only. But moment the Parliament meets, within 6 weeks, you have to pass this law. So recently, central government has abolished many tribunals, authorities, through this Ordinance Act, that is Tribunal Reform Ordinance 2021. So they said कि बहुत सारे tribunals हैं इंडिया में, उसको हम abolish करेंगे, and that is what they have done through this ordinance. Now question comes, what is an ordinance? What is tribunal? Tribunal होता क्या है? These are specialized courts, you can say. Now we have lower courts, we have high court, we have Supreme Court. The cases that are here are civil cases, criminal cases. But if any technical matter comes in, let's say there is a case of income tax issue. अभी income tax का कोई case है, तो ये बहुत मुश्किल होगा, कोर्ट को समझ में नहीं आएगा. There are technicalities involved. So naturally we have a income tax appellate tribunal. So we have a tribunal which provide justice similar to the courts. However, they are like specialized area. They have a specialized domain, and the tribunals come under Article 323 of Indian Constitution, and they are specialized courts. So many of these tribunals are existing, but they have very little value, or they are outdated. So government को लगा कि क्यों ना इनको हम abolish करें. We abolish them because unnecessarily they are using resources. But what about the tribunals that we have right now? If we have tribunals right now, the regulation is also a concern. क्योंकि जो अभी tribunals हैं इंडिया में, they are heavily loaded. वहाँ भी same cases जैसे courts में चल रहा है. The pendency of cases is high. Tribunals give verdict in a longer duration of time. So these are the problems that we witness even today. Okay, so tribunals को regulate करने के लिए, the article says that we should have National Tribunal Commission, which should regulate the tribunal. Current जो tribunals हैं, जैसे हमारा SEBI. So SEBI regulates markets. RBI regulates banks. IRDA regulates insurance market. PFRDA regulates pension market. Right? So similarly, we need to create a National Tribunal Commission which will regulate the tribunals right now. And tribunal is nothing but it's any person or institution which has authority to judge, adjudicate, and try to find an outcome. So basically court जैसा ही होता है, but they are more specialized in nature, and that is what tribunal means. You don't need to go in the technicalities of what are tribunal and Roman and all, but I've just put for the definition. Now अभी क्या problem है? Abolition हुआ है, so there are some concerns. हमने हटाया है tribunals को, but concerns क्या हैं? हमारे क्या concerns हैं tribunals के? So there are multiple concerns. The first concern is that these tribunals they have sharp criticism. ये ordinance ने पहली बात तो bypass ordinance हमने pass किया है, and once we have passed the ordinance, we have bypassed the law. bypassed the parliamentary process. Okay, बहुत सारे ट्राइब्यूनल्स को हमने अबॉलिश किया, लाइक फिल्म सर्टिफिकेशन ट्राइब्यूनल, without any stakeholder consultation. Consultation was not done. Recently there were government order, Supreme Court direction also, that बहुत सारे tribunals का value नहीं है, they should be abolished. But a broader view should have been taken before abolishing them, and that is what has been the bigger concern. So this article says कि आप tribunal को abolish करते हो, so it's a democracy, right? And biggest advantage of democracy is discussion, consensus. Current Modi government is always criticized that they don't give much weight to, you can say, discussions, consultations. They give very less weight. You know, they take unilateral decision, and that is what, you know, the problem is. So the article says that we need to have an independent national tribunal commission, which will regulate the existing tribunal, and this is, they will set the agenda. They will you know, ensure that the tribunals follow their you know, principles and duties. So this will ensure that the administration is done on tribunals, oversight is done. Also, they will standardize the performance and processes. This disciplinary action can also be taken if needed. The NTC can set members' salary, allowances, service condition, okay, or tribunals को independence भी रख सकते हैं. Because tribunals have to be independent of the government. Government का interference नहीं होना चाहिए, and that is why we need to create another body outside government which will only regulate the tribunal. So that is what this article is saying, that we need to have a national tribunal commission, which is nothing but it's a regulatory body for existing tribunals. So that is now this article थोड़ा सा technical है, and I need little concentration from your side. Now, what is the problem right now we are facing? One of the problems that we are facing is emergence of educational technology companies. So we have so many people who they are coming with their own. So Vedantu kids, Uday kids, this kid, that kid, you know, online this platform. So COVID-19 has led to maybe increase in online education. EdTech apps have come, companies have come. When these companies come with the app, so they take your data. They take your data. They have access of your gadget. They know your location. They can analyze the data. They can understand where are you staying. Further, they can use the data. वो आपके data को वो use कर सकते हैं. They can use the data in future. Also, there are ethical issues also. क्या पता ये data का misuse हो जाए. Have you ever heard? कभी आपने सोचा है? Have you ever heard that your data is used by different companies? Have you ever heard a situation where suddenly you are being called by some people and आपको लगा रहे मेरा number कैसे आ गया? How did you get my phone number? And you realize that maybe your data has been shared. This is a big problem. Similarly, but again that might happen in smaller numbers. But because of technology, millions of people are using mobile phones, apps, and that is where data has been created, and that data is your own data, intimate data. और आज data ही नहीं हो रहा है. They can measure your physiological parameters. They can measure your, through your mobile phone, through the data. They can check your heartbeat. They can check your facial expression. They can sense your body, sensor. They can have, sensors which can do that. They can understand your facial expression. अभी आप class कर रहे हो, आपका facial expression read कर लिया उन्होंने, body temperature read कर लिया. Such can also be there. And this is something which definitely creates a concern for future, because आपका जो data है उसमें आपका consent लिया गया कि नहीं गया. Because once you open an app, you don't go into the details of policies and rules and regulation and terms and conditions. You say okay. But that is where it is important that we need to have a regulation here, especially with edtech companies, where data of personal data of people, students, guardians are being taken, and that consent should not be broken. A research is needed. A committee should be there which will see the ethical aspect of these committee. India में जो data है, data privacy is a myth. Google knows where you're staying. Google knows where you're moving. Google knows where is your train. Google knows what have you purchased. Google knows. Facebook knows. Amazon knows. They know everything about you. They know where you're staying right now. They know when you will take train, when you will take flight ticket. they will tell you, I have a flight, suddenly got to a message before 2 hours. You should take the cab. The flight is in 2 hours. Flight is in 3 hours. I said, what is this? This practically this guy knows where I am, because we are so much glued. But this is next level. वो तो आपके next level पे पहुंच गए हैं, and that is where we need to have safeguards. We need to have creation of ethical standards. Informed consent should be more detailed. India does not have international laws to protect the data. जैसे यूरोपियन यूनियन में GDPR है, General Data Protection Regulation. Your data cannot be misused by the companies, sold or misused by that. But अभी हमारे इंडिया में ऐसा नहीं है, and that is why oversight and protection is needed. Especially, this has become a new problem. So we need to create ethics policy. We need to create as a policy which can be used online, offline, which can ensure that safety, confidentiality, anonymity, आपका data कोई और share ना करे, and we promote a very healthy ecosystem. That is the objective. Okay, so that is where we need ethics policy for new educational technologies, especially which are emerging. So regulation is very important. It's a key. So that completes this topic. You can read the content of this article, but don't remember each and every word. Try to develop a macro picture of that, because tomorrow you might get an answer in UPSC. You might have to write answer on these topics, right? Chalo, thoda heavy ho gaya aaj, but that's okay. Article 311 of Indian Constitution. Now, recently, what does Article 311 says? Article 311 says, and this is very important for civil servants, for IAS, IPS, you cannot be removed below the appointing authority. यानी आपको जिसने अपॉइंट किया है उससे नीचे आपको हटा नहीं सकता है. For example, All India Service, IAS, IPS, Central Services, IRS, IFS, all these people are appointed by President of India. आपको अपॉइंट कौन कर रहा है? President of India. So only President of India can remove you, or person above than that. There is no person above President of India. So basically, that is where Article 311 ensures security, job security. Getting into job is easy, but firing is a very difficult part. But recently, we have come across a situation where a Maharashtra police officer was removed by using Article 311 without departmental inquiry. आपके खिलाफ कोई केस है, and department inquiry is very important. Article 311 कहता है कि जो भी appointing authority है, nobody can remove below the appointing authority. So appointing authority, whosoever is there, so you can be dismissed or removed from the service only by the appointing authority or person above that. उससे नीचे आपको कोई हटा नहीं सकता है, and that is what it says. Further, it also says कि inquiry कैसे होगा. Further inquiry होगा तो you will be given opportunity to explain your cause. All that thing will happen. But ये जो removal हुआ है अभी, two police, you must have heard about that case in Antilla case, where police officers were involved. So department inquiry is done where people are appointed, then charge sheet happens, then you can have a lawyer, proper proceedings hota hai, and eventually if you're found guilty, then the decision can be taken against you. But there are exceptions. Exception is agar you can be removed without department inquiry also if you are convicted in a criminal case. You are involved in a murder of something, you are involved in certain criminal case, so you can be removed without department inquiry. Okay. Also, Article 311 says can be dismissed or president or governor if you satisfy the interest or security of the state. यानी अभी जो हटाया है वो Article 21B में हटाया है, which means you are used in a criminal case. ठीक है, तो criminal case में आपको हटाया जा सकता है department inquiry किए बिना, और if governor or president feels कि that आपने जो किया है it is impacting the security of the state. So this article says that proper process has not been followed, even though they are good or bad, that is okay, but process has not been followed, and that is not right. Due process should be followed, and these people should be given opportunity to present themselves to proper departmental inquiry. But in haste ये किया गया है, that is not right. But अगर if you are removed, you can go to tribunal, that is CAT, Central Administrative Tribunal. You can go to the court and you can challenge the dismissal by the government. So that option is also available right now. So Article 311 is news, and you might get a question on MCQ. इस पर MCQ आ सकता है because anything in news you might get question on polity area or the governance area. So moment an article comes in news, always you have to be cautious that I have to study this article properly. Now, Philistine question. Now, I don't have time today, but someday I'll explain the history of Philistine and Israel. Israel और Philistine का एक बहुत detailed history है, and actually people have their view about. There's a lot of polarized view in India. Some people are very supportive of Israel. Some people are supportive of Philistine. But I think before supporting anybody, and there's nothing wrong in supporting. Some people support it on the cause of maybe they are supportive of India, they're supportive of that. Some people are supportive because of maybe some other their personal biases. But my concern is that try to look at the broader picture. Always try to understand the story behind the issue. And if you see the story, both Philistine and Israel have their own story to tell. And the reality is that there is a history behind that. And that history is something that we should understand. And when you understand the history, we'll find that there are problems. So recently, the deadly riots are taking place between the Israel and Gaza. So Israel is like, you can say, it's like the country is like this. So there is one area called Gaza. This Gaza is controlled by Hamas group. Okay, and Hamas is basically a terrorist organization, as depicted by many international groups. This area is under occupation of Israel. Now, recently the controversy has been that in the Gaza area there is a very famous church, a famous mosque, which was captured by Israel, and that is where the problem all started. So I will not go in that, and that led to the Hamas group. They are Israel, and there is a conflict started. So these Hamas people, this was created a few decades ago, and they are an organization which not only control politically, वो Hamas को politically भी control करते हैं, and they have their own maybe liberation group which is fighting for the Philistine cause. Israel, on the contrary, is a country of Jews, and Jews believe that this area in which they are staying, it is a land of Jews, and Jews should control this area. Now, the picture is not exactly clear. The picture is not so simple, because both Israel and the Philistine, irrespective of whatever the problem is, they are not ready to find a middle ground, and there have been a lot of efforts also historically to resolve this issue, but the problem still remains. So naturally, when the problem does not get solved by negotiations and discussions and mediations, one group becomes, they start aggressive means, violence. So it all started in 1948-49. Then 1966, the war happened. In 1973, again war happened. So this war was between Israel and Philistine supporting countries. And in all the war, there have been loss of lives. Mostly the war, war has been where Israel has been able to get better off the players, the contemporaries. And what we see today, the problem is still there. So what are the, now let's understand, let's forget the Israeli-Philistine cause. Let's understand the people who are facing the brunt. Naturally, the majority people of Philistine living in the Gaza area, they're facing the brunt. Even in the Israel area, the rocket launchers are hitting there, people who are getting impacted. If 40 Philistines died, so 3-4 Israelis also died. So it's not the matter of numbers, but the loss of life is still there. So there are three kinds of response. There is one response which is indifferent, other response is imperial, and third is humanitarian. As an aspirant of UPSC, we should always look at humanitarian response. We should understand their problems. We would not take sides of Israel or Philistine, because that will create a problem. But we'll try to look at that, is this a problem? There's a conflict. कौन सही है, कौन गलत है? That is very difficult, because everybody have their own say that I'm right and you're wrong. But the question here is that, is there a loss of lives? Is humanity there? Is justice being given? What about, hundreds or thousands of people who are there, children, young women, parents, children getting orphaned, their livelihood concerns are getting impacted, and that is a concern which we all should be worried of. Naturally, from a UPSC aspect, perspective, we might not get a question here because it is beyond discussion. But India has always been supportive of that. Supportive of that the Palestine-Israel issue should be resolved, through proper negotiations and discussion, and a long-lasting solution should be found. So, moral indifference for people who are not concerned about, how does it matter to us? Human rights losses are happening, and maybe these are ways through which the countries, try to resolve their issues. But these have been the problems. At one end, we have right wing of Israel. At other end, we have Hamas and Fatah. We are saying that okay, both sides are doing this. So there's no moral side. Both are bad. The second part is, of course, the imperial response, where it is said that the recent one started when Al-Aqsa Mosque was captured by Israel. That is what the claim has been. And America has been trying to say that Philistine should give way out to Israel. Now we all know that America has been supportive of Israel always, but a lot of students do not know the reason. See, America is practically America's financial market. America is basically controlled by Jews in many areas, because Jews is a very strong pressure group in America, very strong pressure group. They are the richest people in the world, okay, relatively richest people in the world. Entire financial market is controlled by the Jews. So the America made itna pressure group hai that whoever could be the president, they can't oppose, because without the support of these groups, they can't become whoever is in power cannot come. So that is where American administration has been questioned, that they are saying side of Israel, and we'll have to see how things go in the coming maybe years. But from UPSC perspective, we all have to understand that irrespective of whatever problems happen, it is the lives which are important. The politics are there, but we have to find that opportunities are created, livelihood concerns are addressed, and जो problems hai, because once you create a problem, when a divide is created in society, that will remain forever. So from humanitarian aspect, we have to look at the solution. It is beyond our control, but the urge should be done from everybody, irrespective of any corner of the world, that they should try to find solutions to the problem. So हम तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं, but we can definitely maybe put an approach or viewpoint that without supporting. Now, I'm not saying that I would not take sides. There are because it somewhere the truth is somewhere in the middle. The picture is not you can say one group is more bad, other group is less bad. It is not about good or bad. I'm more concerned about the people who are staying there. The militants will fight, the governments will fight, the radars or the missiles will be fired, but who are the losing people? The people who are losing. So ultimately, we have to find answers to these questions. Okay, so that is how it will be. We'll see how the geopolitics will be impacted by the entire crisis, because I would see that the countries will be divided into two blocks: one supporting Israel, other opposing Israel. So that is how it will be, and let's see how this dynamics will turn out. But this is not for the first time. This is always happening, and we have to think about the basic life and dignity and justice of the people, whosoever they are. They could be Palestinians or they could be Israelis. Definitely, Philistines are at a higher receiving end of the challenges in compared to the people in Israel. So that is what the article talks about. But if you, अगर आपसे पूछा जाए, I personally feel that UPSC would not ask this question, and from an IR perspective, Israel-Palestine question is rarely asked, because that is not because UPSC would not want you to go in that area. It does not impact us directly also. but you need to know the stand of India in real sense where we stand. Okay. Now, so that completes this article. Now, some smaller articles are there. Maybe in another 15 minutes we'll be able to complete this lecture. So, Iran Dome. So, how does Iron Dome? Sorry, not Iran Dome. Israel's Iron Dome. So, we must have witnessed. So, it's like that. The Hamas are sending the rockets. Okay, Hamas are sending the rockets, and Israel Dome system is responding. So, how does that happen? So, basically, this is called Iron Dome shield. So, let's say the rockets are coming from enemy rockets are being fired. So these rockets are intercepted by radar system. Okay, so radar will intercept the rocket, and it will communicate to the control system. Control system will measure कि ये rocket कहाँ जाएगा, where will this rocket hit. So this rocket might hit a population, human population, or it might hit, maybe some area which is not inhabited. एक ground पे जाके hit हो जाएगा. So if might hit a human population, then this launcher missile will send another rocket which will capture this incoming rocket and hit in the between. तो बीच में उसको intercept करके it will act like a defense. So we have such a defense system which is developed by Israel. Its accuracy is almost 90%. 90% accuracy, which means out of every 10 missiles which are hit by Hamas from their area, 90% are being controlled, are being destroyed in the middle by the Iron Dome shield. But many a times when the intensity is way too high, but जब rockets, hundreds of rockets एक साथ fire करते हैं, then many a time this it might go against the capacity of the Iron Dome shield to do that. So Rafael Advanced Defense System has created this Israel Iron Dome defense system, and India also has such system. But it is Israel has created this system just because historically in 2006 also they faced similar situation, और उन्होंने इस system को बनाया है and quite effective. But it is not 100% accurate, which means the damage still will be caused by fewer missiles. So we can see here interceptor missiles which shoots the incoming rockets. So Iron Dome is a multi-mission system which have intercepting rockets. Intercepting rocket, artillery, mortar, ammunition, helicopters, कुछ भी आएगा, short range of 70 kilometers, the Iron Dome will detect them and hit in the air itself. It's an all-weather system. Okay, engage multiple targets, and it is manufactured by Rafael Advanced Systems with Israeli Air Force, and radar has been developed by ELTA. So we all know how it works. It detonates the target, the warhead in the air itself. Air में उसको hit करता है. The advantage is that it can identify that how the rocket will come. जो incoming rocket है वो कैसे आएगा? Whether it will hit the build-up area, whether it will hit an area, उसको engage करना है या नहीं करना है. That all decisions are taken in a fraction of a second. Okay, so basically, Iron Dome consists of battle management control unit, detection and tracking radar, and 3 vertical launchers. इसमें 20 missile interceptor missile जो है रहती है. तो कुछ इस तरह से रहता है. You can see this. This is interceptor system. Interceptor rockets are going and it is able to capture. So fireworks like that, it is seen, and that is how it works. But are there any limitations? Yes. It can only hit limited number of projectiles. अभी ऐसा नहीं कि सारे को करेगा. It has a saturation point. If the rockets are more than certain numbers, then it might not be able to do that. Also, interception range should be between 5-7 kilometers. अभी 2 किलोमीटर से rocket भेजा है तो मुश्किल है. So rocket should at least come from 5-7 kilometers, and that is the limitation of the system. So that is Iron Dome. You don't need to know in the detail of that. You just need to know what is Iron Dome and how it works, basic level. Because when you study defense in science and tech, आप defense जब पढ़ोगे science and tech में, तो India में भी है ऐसे ballistic missile defense system. We have Pradyumna, and we have many such systems that India is also developing. और we can अभी बाहर से कोई ballistic missile आता है तो उसको हम intercept कर सकते हैं हवा में, and we can hit it. But India is a big country, unlike Israel, which is relatively a small country. So for them, they need more tactical approach. Tactical मतलब कि भी नजदीक से hit होता है. So they are being hit by the enemies which are just outside their boundary. Okay. So Hamas या फिर Fatah जो है वो groups हैं वो just they are living almost in the same area. So they have to create a defense system like that. India का problem कहीं और है. Now, so another few topics. Mucormycosis, it is a fungal disease which is affecting the COVID patient who are being recovered, and it's an aggressive fungal infection which impacts the sinus, the brain, ear, nose, throat, and mouth system. It is not contagious, but it is now become a real problem. So this is अभी जो COVID pandemic का जो offshoot है ये देखने को मिल रहा है और ये बहुत बड़ा problem है. The reason is that this disease is very rare disease. Firstly, earlier. And we do not have the kind of preparation that we are ready. कोई problem आता है उसके लिए आप तैयार नहीं हो. We don't have the medicines which are available, the aggressiveness, the way we can counter that. The doctors, the people who have the knowledge, to treat all that is not there. So that is a problem because this disease impacts invasively to the patient, and it moves at a very rapid pace. It affects the brain. It might affect the blindness. And even if it impacts the brain, अगर brain तक पहुंच गया, the death might also happen. Now, the question is that why suddenly we have seen increased instances of mucormycosis, and the first reason is इसको black fungal भी बोलते हैं. In fact, कल news एक और white fungal भी news में आ रहा था. So we don't know how this pandemic will impact us. So mainly the people who have comorbidity, because if you have a underlying condition, you have diabetes, or you have some organ transplant, or you have some cancerous issues are there. So in that situation, your body immunity is weak, and the biggest reason it is found that people who are infected with diabetes are the people who are facing this fungal infection. Recently, what has happened because of this COVID-19 may when inflammation goes very high, especially when the chest infection happens. So doctors are prescribing steroids. Now, steroids are nothing but these are anti-inflammatory medicines. But these are very last line of treatment drugs होते हैं, last line treatment drugs होते हैं. And they should be rarely used unless there is an extreme situation. But steroids for overuse, misuse, indiscriminate use has also been used against patients who are not who should not be given steroids, and that has caused a challenge of high diabetes. So high glucose level, high diabetes उनको होता है first problem, and that decreases your immunity system. The second problem which causes that steroids generally weakens your body. It treats the inflammation but impacts your general immunity. आपकी immunity को down करता है, and if it is used for, because steroids are mainly suggested for a shorter period. Last month I also had COVID, and I was also on steroids, and I was steroids only for 1 week, 7 days, and I did a lot of R&D on steroids, and I found that if steroids are used for a longer period, then it can cause problem like diabetes as a disease also can come. यानी आपको diabetes भी हो सकता है. So it has been found that doctors aggressive treatment, especially with the overuse of steroids, might impact the patient, or जो already diabetes impacted है, the patients who already have comorbidity, there were some patients, cancer patients, or there were some other patients, they will be impacted by the disease. And again, it is a very severe disease. It might have symptoms like stuffy nose, blackish brown discharge, pain, jaw pain, everything, decreased vision, and eventually it might reach to the brain. So main treatment in this drug is antifungal drug called amphotericin B. और ये बहुत rare drug है. We don't have much supply. Now we are augmenting the supply. Supply इसका बढ़ा रहे हैं. And this it is very costly also. Normal treatment cost goes up to 30 lakh. अभी common Indian 30 lakh कहाँ से लाएगा? Even person who's relatively from a decent background, एक अच्छा background भी ठीक ठाक background भी होगा, but 30 lakh is huge, right? So 30, because every injection costs, it has to be given for weeks, and every injection costs maybe 15,000, 20,000 like that. So that is where it is important. And further, steroids will also be used along with the sugar level monitoring. So prevention is also the key. We have to ensure that blood sugar are controlled, because your body immunity goes down when your blood sugar level goes up. So blood sugar, BP, these are like diseases. If they come in your body, they will weaken your body forever. And that is why it is very important that you control these diseases. And if detected early, mucormyosis is not fatal. शुरू में timely अगर intervention होता है तो fatal नहीं है, and that has been the objective. So you control hyperglycemia, sugar levels. You control the glucose level, especially in COVID discharge and in diabetes. Steroids should be used in a judicious manner. Further, sterile water, humidifiers, in oxygen therapy if you're using that. Antibiotics and antifungal should also be used properly. So that has been there. But as an aspirant, we just need to know what is mycosis. It is antifungal. It is a fungal disease which has been impacted to the people who are COVID affected. Though it can also be there with people who normally जो होता है ये fungal spores जो है, they are normally available in the atmosphere. But आपकी immunity इतनी strong होती है कि आपको impact नहीं करता है. Recently, DRDO with collaboration with Dr. Reddy's lab, they have come with a new oral drug, 2DG, and this is 2-deoxy-D-glucose or 2DG, and this can be used or given to the COVID patients and moderate or severe COVID patients. And what it can do, that moment it is taken, it can reduce the oxygen requirement of the people, and it also stops the virus in the tract area, and it can be given to the patients, especially who have critical requirement of the oxygen. So unko diya जा सकता है. And in the trial, there have been 3 trials that has been done in the past few months, and it has been found that the drug is very effective in treatment, and that is why it has been given clear signal. So 2G have been developed by INMAS, that is Institute of Nuclear Medicine and Allied Sciences, and Hyderabad-based pharma company Dr. Reddy. Data says that faster recovery of COVID patients and reduced dependency on the oxygen. And drug also prevents the growth of virus by stopping viral synthesis and energy production. Its selective accumulation in virally affected cell makes this drug unique. वो selectively जो है viral infected cells को impact करता है, and it does not impact any other thing. So that is how it has been. And this 2G is more like a glucose. एक glucose का इस तरह है, and you can put it's available in the powder form. You can put in the water and you can have it orally. जैसे आप जैसे juice पीते हो पानी sugar डाल के, similarly you can put in the water and you can have it orally. So that is 2G drug, and we might see the production of this 2G drug, 2G drug uses in the coming months. अभी तो experimental था, and drug is also less, but in the coming weeks maybe we might see the drug is easily available to everybody. So that is the 2G. Now coming to the cyclone Taute. So what is this cyclone? Let's understand the process of cyclone, how the cyclone works, and then we'll come to that. Now cyclones are like they are low pressure winds. So what happens? This warm ocean, and as the temperature increases, यहाँ पे जो the air becomes warm, and warm air it carries water, ये humid हो जाता है. तो अब ये जो warm air is lighter. So as the ocean gets warm, the surrounding the air also gets warm, and that is where this air starts going up. ये air ऊपर जाते हैं, and when this air go up, they cool down and they form clouds. The cold air on the top, they come down, which means what do we see? That in some area we have low. जब warm air ऊपर जाती है तो it is called low pressure area. जहाँ पे और high pressure area जहाँ पे cold winds होती हैं. So low pressure area, warm winds. So winds will move from low pressure to or high pressure to low pressure because pressure balancing होता है. So whenever there is a high pressure and low pressure, the wind will move from high pressure to low pressure to bring the balance. So when there is a increase in temperature because of the ocean warming, we can see the air gets humidified, it becomes warmer, it goes up, low pressure areas build up. जब ये cycle becomes very intense, then we see the creation of wind which move from low pressure to high pressure, and very high intensity, pressure, high pressure, low pressure intensity is created. So this is low pressure, this is high pressure. Wind is moving in a cyclic fashion, and this carries a lot of clouds, and they move at a very rapid pace. और चूंकि जब इनको बहुत सारा एनर्जी ओशन से मिलता है, because as they move they are carrying more water, it becomes very intense, they become high speed waves. अभी ये they move towards the land area, okay, they move towards the land area because of the pressure gradient. और ये जब लैंड एरिया मूव करते हैं, so इनको जितना पानी मिलता है उतना ये स्ट्रांग होते जाते हैं. Now they hit the land area, which means the coastal part of India. Now India का पेनिनसुला कुछ ऐसा है. So we have Bay of Bengal and we have Arabian Sea. So they are mainly formed here. Bay of Bengal is much warmer relatively. वहाँ ज़्यादा बनना चाहिए. So they move at a very rapid pace, and when they move very rapid pace, they create destruction, and they become slow only when they hit the land. Because जैसे ही आते हैं उनको जो source मिल रहा है, the energy, the warm ocean is the energy that they are not getting, and it hits the land, and when it hits the land, it causes destruction, rainfall, okay, to a very higher level. So this is what happened. Cyclone Taute, it was classified as a very severe cyclonic storm, developed in the Arabian Sea, and they created the coastal India में बहुत damage किया. This whole area, the damage was created. In fact, it was supposed that Mumbai में नहीं आएगा, but it changed its course in between, and we can see how the damage was caused in the Bombay High. So it's a fourth cyclone in the consecutive years to have deployed in the Arabian Sea. All the cyclones in 18 were categorized as severe cyclone. Okay, और आप देख सकते हो cyclone का movement कैसे हुआ है, and they move at a very rapid pace. Now, what is aiding such rapid intensification? इतना strong क्यों है? Because any tropical cyclone requires energy to stay alive, and this energy gets from the warm water. Okay, warm water और humid air से वो energy उनकी strong होती है, and they become weaker only when they release that in the form of rainfall or heavy rainfall. The more the heat release, the water vapor condenses and the pressure drops. So low pressure system undergoes multiple stages of intensification to find cyclones. Okay, I'll come to your question, Ahmed. So it is not a rare phenomena; it's a typical phenomena. A tropical cyclone है. ये North Indian region में हमेशा आता है, especially in the period of pre-monsoon, monsoon से पहले and after monsoon. Okay, so May, June, and October, November is the period in which cyclones are formed. And remember, these cyclones are they can be so intense that they can cause considerable damage. And annually, some 5 cyclones are formed in Bay of Bengal. 4 development happened in Bay of Bengal last year. उनमें 5 में से 4 Bay of Bengal में होता है, 1 Arabian Sea में होता है. But in the recent time, we have seen that Arabian Sea is also getting more cyclone. So you might get a question here, why? Because of the warming of the Arabian Sea. Typically, Bay of Bengal is more warmer, but now we are witnessing warming of the Arabian Sea, and that is causing higher number of cyclones forming in the Arabian Sea region as well. So global warming की वजह से हो रहा है. This the whole thing that I explained, that tropical cyclone is a rapidly rotating storm system categorized by low pressure center and a closed low level atmospheric circulation, strong winds, spiral arrangement of thunderstorms that produce heavy rains. In fact, वो high pressure ऐसे high pressure होता है, और बीच में जो है storm I होता है, I of the storm. ये low pressure होता है, तो ऐसे रहता है. अभी जब ये high pressure, ये low pressure. अभी जब ये cyclone, when this cyclone moves, there is a heavy damage rainfall. Suddenly, then cyclone calm हो जाता है, फिर रुक जाता है. Why? Because moment low pressure आता है तो calm हो जाएगा, कुछ भी नहीं होगा. So rainfall होगा, फिर रुक जाएगा, फिर again. So when the eye hits the land, then it becomes calmer, and suddenly again it will increase. So that is how the cyclones, they create that damage. So depending on the location strength, tropical cyclone is referred by different names, including hurricane, typhoon, tropical storm, cyclone storm, like that. So जगह-जगह पे नाम है. In US we call them hurricane or typhoon. In India we use it as cyclones. So that completes it. Now Ahmed has a very good question. How there is a whole method of naming the cyclones, Ahmed. Method of naming the cyclone. I'll check this method. and it has been devised recently. पूरा एक method आता है cyclone को name करने का, as you ask the question, but this method is basically used to understand the how cyclones name should be done. Okay, so that is all for today. So we have some questions here. We can try to look at these questions in the coming lectures of current affairs, weekly current affairs. What I have thought, not only I'll be putting the articles, but I'll also put the previous year question papers. कोई issues हम discuss करेंगे, तो उससे जुड़ा अगर question 5 साल पहले आया है or closer to it, I will put that question as well, so that you can understand what kind of questions are being asked in UPSC and how current affairs can be used for UPSC mains examination. So that is the objective for today. I hope the session was heavy, but read them very properly. I've tried to take the basics. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me, then I'll close for a day. Okay? Any questions, anybody? I'll take one question asked by Ahmed, and that question was, what are derivatives? Now, understand derivatives are financial instrument. Which are traded on the market. But the value of derivatives derive from some other instrument. For example, shares, property, gold. तो अब ये derivative financial instrument है. अब इसका value is deriving from this property. So I say, so these derivatives are nothing but they are like, legal, financial papers. So let's say there's a building of 10 crore. So I create a derivative of that. Now this derivative, value of derivative is coming from the building. The building का value 10 crore है, वहाँ से derivative का value भी 10 crore है. Now I can trade this. I can sell and purchase this as we do the shares. इसका trading करेंगे market पे, derivative market पे. And I can do the trading as the demand, as the company का ये building का value ऊपर जाएगा, the derivative value will also go up and down accordingly. So that is what. So derivative is a financial instrument whose value are derived from some other instrument like shares, property, gold, anything. Okay, so it can be anything. So that is what derivative. So normally जब markets में deal करते हैं, they can be shares, they can be debentures, या उनके types हो सकते हैं from mutual funds like that, or they can be derivatives. ठीक है, तो ये तीन होते हैं financial instrument which can be traded. So I hope that is clear to everybody. समझ में नहीं आया तो घबराना नहीं, because these questions will come again and again. Financial market is a topic which I'll be taking in detail. 2-3 lecture लगेगा financial market को cover करने में. So read these questions very properly, and if you have doubt, we'll take it in the next lecture. If you have no doubts, जो है वो ले लेंगे. So that is all for today. Thank you very much.